Have you ever looked at your garden and thought something is missing? Well, maybe it just needs a little bit more focus, in which case focal points are a great way to enhance your outside space. In garden design, focal points are a key element to consider. I take sight lines from the house and from the garden and use focal points in a way to elevate those viewpoints. I also use them to create a little sense of journey around an outside space. They come in all shapes and sizes, from man-made structures to potentially trees and shrubs. There really is a focal point for any garden. Now, this leads us perfectly onto today's question from Jill in Cheltenham, who's asked how to use focal points to elevate her outside space. Now, greenhouses and other buildings like garden offices and even sheds are great focal points and often overlooked. This is my main focal point in the garden. You see it from lower down and you see it up from the winding path, and it also adds architectural interest. Now, we look at a static focal point here, and we're going to go to a more free-flowing focal point in this water feature. This is the water carrier, and it's central to the garden. It creates a lovely ambience with the sound of water, and it's a central focal point to this space. Now, the trick with focal points is to make sure they're spread out across your outside space. You don't want too much going on in one location. They're designed to make you stop in different areas of your garden so you can pause and reflect in that moment. So that leads us on to our next focal point, which is probably the most common in garden situations. We have our little friend here, the statue, which I actually found nestled behind the retaining wall when I dug the garden out and I started building it. And she is perfect. And this is a great example of a low focal point nestled in and around the planting. And what it does is it makes me stop and really focus in on everything that otherwise probably would have gone unnoticed in this area of the garden. So a great use of a focal point. We talked about focal points. Now I'm actually going to build one for the garden, and you can see this spot nice and clearly from different little angles in the garden. Firstly, I've got my plinth bin ready to go. Now I'm going to create quite a traditional focal point. So I've got a plinth, and then there'll be a bowl planter on top, and then a choice of plants that just pop in this little shady corner of the garden. So this is nice and level, and we're going to crack on with the next steps. You can pick up something like this from a garden centre or reclamation yard, but it doesn't need to be as heavy duty as what I've got here. You could replace this with a terracotta pot, or you could even use something more budget friendly like a plastic planter. Totally up to you. So here's a little trick for you when you're planting up containers. Just put a little bit of compost at the bottom and then get your plants and simply remove them from their container, like so. And what you want to do is place your containers in and space them how you want them to be in the planter and fill the compost in and around those voids. And then what that does is it provides you with a perfect little planting pocket for your plants to just slot into. So I've filled in all my voids, and I just simply take my pots out, like so, and I have 3 little perfect holes for my plants. Just slot this one into its hole there, and then arrange them how you see fit, like so. Top up with a tiny bit of compost around the base, like so. Make sure they're nice and firm. And then we'll give that a little water, and that'll be good to go. I'm really happy with that. You can already see it starts to lift the space, and with the planting in and around it at the bottom, that will just start to clump together, and it will feel like it's always belongs. So Jill, I hope that answers your question. Why not try something similar to this at home, build your own focal point that adds personality, structure and charm to your space.